Hello, my name is James Stillwell. The following lengthy quote in which I'm about to read you is from a book written in the early 19th century. It was written in Germany by a very famous um, anarchist activist. The name of the book is Liberating Society from the State and Other Writings, a Political Reader. You will find the name of the author and the translator and also the editor in the description box of this video. We often hear the objection that the destruction of power itself requires authority and hence the exercise of power. Those who raise this objection confuse things. The terms power, coercion, and violence means very different things. Equating and mixing them has led to fatal consequences even within anarchist ranks. Violence is a means of struggle, and does, in its essence, not differ from other such means, for example, persuasion, deception, or civil disobedience. The claim that the anarchist idea is irreconcilable with a struggle that implies the use of physical force or its technical enhancements by weaponry is a random distortion of the anarchist idea. Those who do not feel comfortable using violence in a struggle do not have to use it. However, this is a question of personal taste. It has nothing to do with anarchism. Since anarchism calls for struggle, it cannot create a hierarchy of the forms that the struggle might take, nor can it draw a line beyond which it refuses to struggle. The same goes for coercion. The use of coercion does not pose a general contradiction to the anarchist idea. Once an opponent has been forced to the ground in a struggle, he must not be allowed to get back up. Asocial elements have to be forced to adapt to the necessities of communal life. This, however, requires coercion. Violence and coercion only become unacceptable from an anarchist perspective when they serve authority. This is from where the superficial equation of power, coercion, and violence derives. The state claims a monopoly on violence by virtue of its power. Anarchism is against state violence and state coercion because it is against state power. However, in order to think clearly, we have to distinguish. Violence is an act of struggle, a mere means to achieve a purpose. Coercion is control as a means of struggle and as a means of securing the struggle's objective. Power is a permanent condition of violence and coercion for oppressing the desire for equality. It is the oppressive monopoly of coercion and violence implemented from above. Hence, power signifies actual reality, or the actual reality that comes from any centralist, authoritarian, legislative, and statist relationship. Power uses the internalized human belief in the necessity of authority as its moral justification. Authority is the surrender of one's own decision-making abilities to someone else. The claim to authority therefore demands of people to give up their own opinions and to blindly follow a ready-made package of ideas, rules, and principles. By accepting authority, one abandons critical thought and individual will, and subjugates oneself to external doctrines and regulations. It is self-evident that power would never be tolerated if the human spirit had not already been made susceptible to the impact of authority. Wherever authority appears, power can be established. Once power is established, authority finds it easy to emerge everywhere. The lust for power is what distinguishes humans most clearly from animals, whose communal organizations follow nature and not power, relations they themselves have established. Ever since some human beings first handed power over to others and granted them the right to be rulers, i.e., ever since privilege entered human communities and the craving for power became the most important factor in the formation of social relationships, the belief in authority has been instilled in those who are to be ruled. Authority rests on the infiltration of the soul, on the manipulation of the soul, which chooses belief and trust over reflection and judgment. Once people make this choice and no longer question even that which is most improbable and irrational, they will obey without resistance, even if ordered to do things that are directly opposed to their own interests. The oldest and most tested way to induce a belief in authority is to cite metaphysical divine powers whose orders humans have to follow and whose judgment they must accept. The original sense of right and wrong would never allow an attack against human self-determination. The consciousness that true social law can allow or can only be built. Let me start that over. The consciousness that true social law can only be built on equality and mutuality would render any exercise of power by some humans over others impossible. To cite supernatural heavenly creatures as creators and masters of all things was therefore the only way to insert notions of authority, privilege, and obedience into the natural minds of the people. They were told that their actions did not need to be justified in their own eyes, but only in the eyes of these gods. Once a belief in divine power was established, a belief in worldly power could also be established. All that was required was the claim that the gods had transferred some of their authority to earthly representatives, blessed with special privileges and the duty to watch over other people's behavior. This established authority of the priests and opened the door to all other forms of authority. Priests understood the human soul. They knew that the reason for the natural rejection of authority lies in genuine self-esteem requiring self-determination and equal rights. They knew that self-esteem could only be broken by fear. Hence, fear usually seen as a weakness, became a virtue with respect to the invisible gods. Once people learned to fear gods, they also learned to fear priests, kings, laws, and property. They allowed others to rule them.